Hi, Trains Nation. Steve Sweeney with Trains Magazine. I'm here with editor Jim Wrinn from Trains and Associate Editor Brian Schmidt. We're here to talk about the big items in Trains Newswire this week. So I thought I'd ask Jim and Brian, what were some of the big items that you saw? What caught your interest this week, Jim?
First thing that caught my eye right off the bat was the AAR traffic figures for 2015. They were way off, just like what we figured they were going to be. Carloads were down 6.1%, and coal was in the tank at about 30% off. So the big news for me this week was the AAR traffic figures.
That was really big, really big. Although intermodal was up just a touch, right?
Intermodal was up a tad.
Okay, well that
was a bright spot. Automotive was a bright spot, but everything else pretty much way off.
Interesting. Brian, what was your top story this week?
Well, Steve, I was looking at the Union Pacific capital expenditures for the coming year.
Big.
That came out of the NRC Railroad Contractors Convention in San Diego this week. And it was interesting to me to see that Union Pacific's going to hold the course on spending, even though traffic is down and stocks are down across the industry. UP seems committed to spending for the future, which is great. And of course, doing all the spending now when traffic's down, there's fewer trains to interfere with it.
Yeah, and so far that's more than $1 billion, right?
I believe so, yes.
That's a lot of money to spend on railroads. My big takeaway from the week right now is the Midwest flooding. We haven't heard too much about trains that are moving because a lot of rail fans aren't out shooting trains that aren't moving, but that's going to be huge in Missouri, parts of Tennessee, parts of Arkansas, and even Texas now, where floodwaters from rains have just washed away pieces of track, have washed away the rights of way, and we're going to be rebuilding that in the next few months to come. So that's really big, really huge, I think.
The BNSF has, I think, several subdivisions completely underwater just about.
Yeah, they do, and they're not moving any trains, so they're just backing up on different parts of the Southern Transcon. So we're going to be watching that for you more in Trains Newswire next week and the weeks to come. You know, the other thing, just to make this a little bit more lighthearted, yesterday New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo announced that they're going to rebuild New York's Penn Station. They're going to call it Empire Station. Immediately people are thinking, oh, the Empire Strikes Back. You know, the Sith Lords are going to come and, you know, oversee the rebuilding of the Empire State.
Everything has a Star Wars theme right now.
Yeah, I know.
So why not?
Why not? But it actually looks cool. We're going to be putting up some more pictures of that later this afternoon. But you know, just as a general feeling, either of you have been to Penn Station before. You've heard about it. It's been awful. What do you think of making it different than what it's been for the past 40 years?
Hey, it'll be great to get it out of the rat hole that it is right now.
Right.
So anything would be an improvement.
Yeah. Oh, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anything they can do to improve that place would be better. I was there just a couple months ago, and it was if you don't go through the rat race every day, you really have to stop and look at the signs and figure out where you're at and where you're going, and you can get in the way and get run over doing that. You can tell it's very much a locals versus visitors type of situation there.
Yeah, not friendly for visitors at all. I was there about 15 years ago, and we just got absolutely lost until we found someone at a Domino's Pizza who could point us in the right direction. This is the train you want, and by the way, it's leaving in 5 minutes, so you better go now, but in a thick New York accent. So, Jim, you had mentioned that there were a few other stories this week that caught your attention.
Yeah, a couple of things. I wanted to send out a shout out to Oscar Monaz, that used to be the chairman the assistant chairman at CSX. He's recovering from a heart transplant. He's over at United Airlines now. Great guy. We had some great dealings with Oscar whenever he was at CSX. A couple of preservation notes. The DNS, Durango and Silverton's parent company, American Heritage Railroads, is buying the Mount Rainier Scenic up in Washington State. That's big in preservation.
Huge deal.
And the guys rebuilding the Alco PA in Dallas, actually Dallas suburb, Frisco, Texas.
That's right.
Have found a donor locomotive. They actually are going to try to put the guts in that engine to make it operate. So that story caught my eye as well.
That's fantastic. You know, and I was thinking that there are a lot of new preservation projects coming out there, whether it's an Alco PA, whether it's a new steam locomotive. There are even steam locomotives out there that have just been sitting and rusting in the sunshine for 40 years that are now getting a fresh coat of paint and maybe a shed. And that's really something to be envious of when, you know, all the time I was growing up, you just saw this sort of junk sitting out there.
There's a lot going on right now.
So that's pretty good. Well, for everyone at Trains and Trains Newswire, have a safe day.